Folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. If I seem a little winded today, it's probably because I am. For some reason, I woke up super congested and feel like I'm a mouth breather today. So walking, talking, and breathing through my mouth is going to be a little bit more difficult than normal. Speaking of wind, it's really windy this morning. These trees should protect most of it, and I put my little different microphone on here that helps with wind, but if we get gusts of it, that's what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. Wanted to talk to you this morning about having clarity under fire. And I don't mean just literal firefight. I mean under times of stress, intense pressure, desperation, chaos. Having the ability to clearly think through that may be more valuable than just about any of your other preps. I personally, because of past careers, have been in some pretty scary, dangerous, intense situations, life-threatening to myself. And I'll tell you from my personal experience, and I've never served and gone to combat and experienced that level, but just in what I have experienced, in my opinion, having that ability to think clearly during intense, chaotic situations is probably more valuable than the tools that you're carrying or even the training that you have. I've seen people break, get all confused and flustered and emotional and not able to control that and to think clearly through a situation. And I think many Americans lack that ability, at least in my personal experience. Many of you, maybe you're older, maybe you've experienced more hard times, and so you have a greater ability to do this than others. But the point is that we are getting into the time that having this ability is going to be very important. For those of you that's watched my channel for any length of time, not the ones that's just been finding me out, which, hey, if you're new to the channel, welcome. You might consider subscribing to the channel so that you can get updates of when new content comes out. But for those of you that's been around for a while, I would hope that many of you would back me up on this, that I try really hard not to hype things up, to get people in a state of fear and panic. I don't think that it's worthwhile. To me, it's not about how many views and clicks I get. It's about getting out information that can be helpful to people. And I think it's much more helpful to keep things, calm. Express the intensity of how bad things are, but keep a calmness to us. And I'll have to admit, and I do this in my personal life. My wife, if you ever get to talk to her in person, she says this all the time. Something will happen around here. Kids will do something they shouldn't. Something will break. Whatever it is. And I just sit there or stand there, and she's like, "Aren't you even mad?" I'm like, "Oh, yes. I'm very upset right now." She goes, "Well, you don't look like it." So I try to do this in my personal life, to not allow my mind to get away from me and my emotions to take control. I'm saying all this to tell you that right now, with everything that's going on and all the information I'm getting, and I'm getting so much here lately, more than I can almost process. Some of it, I don't know if it's legit or not. Some of it, it's almost 100% sure that it is. It's getting harder to not allow myself to become, the sky is falling, now is the time, head for shelter, run for the hills. It's hard not to, because I see the things happening that, for me now, a little over 20 years I've been preparing for. the things that myself and many others over the years have said, hey, it's going to go down this path, or when it gets to this point, it's bad. And I see that happening right now. And it's becoming more and more difficult not to get on here and, scream from the rooftop that, folks, you better get ready because it's coming. I still think that having that clarity in the midst of the storm is going to benefit us much more than allowing our emotions and our fears and everything else to take control. I think that is going to happen with a lot, not just the normies, the sheeple, the people that are still asleep. I think this is going to happen a lot with preppers too. I don't get on Facebook hardly at all. I can't stand it. But yesterday I got on, and I was for the purpose of doing a little kind of research and just kind of getting the feel of how things are going. And I specifically went to some prepper groups and just kind of looked around to see if there was any conversations on, when is it going to happen? Are we in SHTF? How much longer do you think we have? Do you think it's actually going to happen? That kind of stuff. And just about every one of them had threads of people talking about it. And I would guess that probably close, if not more, than 50% of the people in there, in these groups, were saying, this is nothing. It's just, it's all going to go away. It's never going to happen. We're never going to have a real SHTF. Not in America. They're going to fix it all. The Fed will come in and they'll, calm the storm. All this kind of stuff. Now, many of those people could just be trolls and plants and bots and stuff like that. But I actually hear this quite often, even from people that, you think are a little aware of stuff. And who knows, maybe they're right. Maybe we're the wrong ones. But it's getting harder and harder to believe that when you see more and more stuff happening. And to me, it's happening at a much more intense and fast pace, which, as I've said many times on here before, that's exactly what John Kerry said would happen back in before Biden was put into the White House. He said that this great reset in the United States would happen with speed and intensity. And that's exactly what's happening. So I believe that it's quite possible that even amongst the preppers, the ones that believe that they are prepared, there could definitely be some panic, some craziness, some losing control of oneself, because you believed that nothing was going to happen. In these kind of times, we have to work really hard at keeping our wits about us. It's easy for some of you. I think some people, it just kind of comes natural. They're just a little bit more, calm and collective and even keel. Some people are just naturally, more hyper and more emotional, and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't think that I am poo-pooing you, okay? My wife is more that way. I mean, if any of you know her, you know that that's how she is. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the times that we are embarking upon, those things need to be kept a little bit more under control. There is a time and a place for that. And during the SHTF, during all of this stuff, there will be a time and a place for that type of person, for that type of emotion and behavior. But right now, I don't believe that is the time. And we need to work at controlling our emotions, controlling our fears, controlling our thoughts, so that we can keep clear and focused and realize what we need to be doing. Because at this point, the reality is like we are training ourselves, preparing ourselves for battle. And I don't mean that in a literal sense. I just mean that because of the intense and immense change and things that are going on, we kind of have to look at it that way, that it's like going to war. And of course we all know that a literal war, world war, nuclear war could very easily be upon us. But for you and I, we need to look at it that way. It doesn't matter if you've had professional training and you've served, or that you're the single mom or the grandma or the aunt that, you know, knows nothing about this, knows nothing about combat or anything. You don't have to. We all understand the concept, I would hope, of kind of that battle warrior mindset. And right now is the time to do that. It doesn't mean that we become emotionless drones. It doesn't mean that we lose all compassion or anything like that. It just means that we work on developing a little bit more control of our thoughts. Because not only are there bad things going on and things are getting worse, there's also a lot of people out there that I believe are trying to take advantage of it. And a lot of, it seems to me, probably more fake news than ever from both sides, both the left and the right. And I kind of think that they're trying to get people to panic, get people off their game, get people believing that this bad thing's going to happen or that this really good thing is going to happen and make it all go away. We have all the power we need right here and also in our hearts if we are serving the master, the creator. If we do those two things, we have vastly more opportunity and chance of surviving this than all of the elites in their bunkers with their billions of dollars of supplies. So folks, as we're prepping, as you're learning about stuff, as you're doing all the things that we talk about on here all the time, like getting your house in order, preparing your whole body, remember that we have to have that clarity during the storm, that peace while the waves are crashing and while the wind is howling. Because if we don't do that, we could very easily be swept away by that storm. So folks, like I always say, you know what's coming. Now more than ever, it's time to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, spiritually. And I've had a few people recently say, oh, you never talk about, what we need to do spiritually. Well, you don't watch my channel enough. Because you need to get your heart right with God. Open up that Bible. Get on your knees in prayer. Because there's so much stuff going around. You're going to need it. You need it anyways. But let me tell you, I think that this false belief that we can handle things on our own because we're strong humans is going to be a reality shock for a lot of people in the coming weeks and months. Folks, prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.